So I'm going to just move us into our next guests that I think are queued up and ready to go.
I'm not sure if Richard and Matt Moore, they'll be logging in right at 9. So let me just double check to see if they're here.
All right, Deb. Well, I will just kind of introduce you all a little bit. In this roundtable session, you're going to learn from two of AVTEC's Maritime Training Center instructors, Deb Burdick and Terry Federer, on how they pivoted when COVID hit to deploy and deliver training via distance using virtual reality and other technology with their partners from Designery.
Yes.
Designery, I was close. Thank you, Richard, for the correction.
Think Design Factory, Designery.
Designery, which is Richard Webber, who just spoke up as the co-founder and chief executive officer, and Matt Moore, Designery's general manager. So thank you all for joining us today and sharing your expertise and experience using innovative technology. And remember, feel free to add information to the chat box, and we'll have time for Q&A at the end of their discussion.
Thank you for having us.
Sure enough, good to be here.
All right, Richard, if you want to take us away, we're going to
go ahead.
Terry and I will start out, and then we'll pass it over to the Designery team.
Okay, so I'm going to, let's see, so share the screen, share sound, and then the Microsoft. Okay, and so play that, and then share. Okay, screen sharing has failed to start. All right.
He's got that ability, Ryan?
Yep, should be able to as a co-host.
Okay. All right, so it keeps telling me screen sharing has failed to start. Please try again. Let me go back.
And we did just do this in my Zoom room, so I know it's not on his end.
So let's go ahead and see if I can do that. Okay, how about now?
Yay!
All right, there we go. Success. All right, so I'm going to apparently be driving the train, but Deb and Terry are going to start the festivities off. So
all right, sounds good.
Whenever,
all right, well,
whenever you need me to change, just let me know.
Okay, sounds great. Well, welcome everyone. Great to have you here. We're excited to share some things. And again, I know enough to be dangerous on these topics, but not to be enthusiastic. And so when I first started learning about this, I was excited to share it with everyone. I think you'll all also see the possibilities, and there's probably a lot of you that are more knowledgeable about it than I. So let's go to the next slide, please.
There we go.
All right, so this is our team. This is our guide. Richard Webb and Matthew Moore are on the Designery team. And myself, Deb Burdick-Hinton, I work at AVTEC. I primarily am involved in the high school Young Mariner program, but I do grant writing and whatever else. And then also joining the team is our fearless leader in the Maritime Department, Terry Federer, and he's the department head of maritime training. So we can go to the next slide. All right, so here's the agenda. We're going to first, Terry and I are first going to kick things off talking about some of the pivots we did. I'm sure it'll sound very similar to what all of you have been doing as well, and the remote training opportunities that has developed, and not just ones that are in response to the pandemic, things that I think are going to improve our instruction even after we get back to whatever that new normal is going to be. And then Matthew and Richard will take over and kind of look at how we can understand tomorrow by looking back and then making sense of the reality spectrum. So throwing a lot of terms at you here, lived reality, and I kind of like that because, or no, I don't actually really like LR right now. But then there's virtual reality, VR, augmented reality, AR, and extended reality. So these are all new terms and things that I'm wrapping my head around. And then a call to action. Richard shared a lot of information about how do we develop this extended reality workforce. And it's all things that many of your students are probably already doing. And so it's a very interesting thing to wrap our head around is, you know, these are skill sets that many of our students have and many of our students can possess before they graduate from high school and segue into a living wage career, which is kind of what we're all about. And then we'll have some time for Q&A. Next slide, please. All right, I'm just going to discuss briefly as soon as, you know, things shifted. Luckily at AvTech, we'd been using Zoom for about 2.5 years, so that wasn't a learning curve necessarily for all of us. So the big pivot in the Young Mariner program was to get as many students into our introduction nautical skills. And so we fast-tracked it since most students were at home. We came up with a compressed format where the students were meeting 3 days a week versus 1 day a week. So we took our 12-week program and cut it down by 1/3. And we got, I think, about 120 different students that got access to that program. Unfortunately, our students that were planning to come to AvTech to continue their education and earn their Merchant Mariner credentials were unable to. The good news is that using all the COVID protocols and whatnot, we have been able to continue to offer training on-site at AvTech, a combination of on-site and distance, so that we have actually had quite a few high school students that have continued their training with us while still in high school. Many of them aren't attending school face-to-face, but they have some, you know, based on, you know, their own definition of what they want to do. They've traveled with their parents, they've stayed off campus, and we've helped support them with the Perkins funding. So that, for some of them, that's been nice to continue on. And then we've also had the ability to get approval by the Coast Guard to put some things online via distance. And again, we're hoping that in the future, we'll be able to do more of that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our department head, Terry Federer.
Good morning, everybody. I apologize. My son hopped on a class this morning at the same time I did on Zoom. We are at the end of the road here on Herman Lear Road out at heading out towards the National Park here in Seward at Exit Glacier. So we have DSL as our internet service at our house. So I'm going to keep my camera off because as soon as he popped on, I got kicked off. So thank you everybody for joining. And again, my name is Terry Federer. I'm the department head of the Alaska Maritime Training Center at AvTech. Now, as Deb mentioned, we were able to because of our already having a significant knowledge of Zoom and doing some distance delivery already at AvTech, even as a vocational training school, we were able to adapt in many cases really quickly. And some other courses that we were in, programs we were able to adapt with online training were our vessel repair and maintenance program. We were able to change and do some Zoom courses with our shipyard competent person and lockout, tagout, and many other courses. And also in our maintenance and repair and construction, we were able to do courses online such as building roofs and stairs, and also construction math. But I think where we really were successful was working with the Coast Guard and kind of pioneering a pathway for online training with them. You know, the United States Coast Guard is very traditional, and they really had a hard time wrapping their head around doing classes via distance delivery. They really want people in person doing their classes. And it took them a while to shift, but with AvTech and a couple other schools pushing them, we're able to convince them that, you know, if we want to keep going and we want to keep a workforce, building a workforce for the maritime industry, which is a high demand industry, that they also needed to adapt a bit. And they did. And fortunately, we were able to get most of our courses, which we now have 45 courses, approved for online and distance delivery. Now, we're not offering all of our Coast Guard courses that way because, well, the Coast Guard views their training as assessment-based training. They want you to prove that you can do something, right? If you're going to put out a fire, they want you to prove that you can put out a fire. If you're going to drive a ship, they want you to prove that you can drive a ship, which makes sense. But we were able to get some of the courses that are more the low-hanging fruit, stuff that's more classroom-based to be distance delivered. Now, the Coast Guard still wants us to proctor exams in person, and they still want us to do assessments in person. But now we're looking at ways that we can change that and working with the Coast Guard for the future. So they understand that the writing is on the wall. They understand that they're also going to have to adapt. And they've asked schools like ACTE to come up with solutions for them. So, you know, right now, how we're doing distance delivery with the Coast Guard is, our Coast Guard approved courses is with Zoom. But we all know that 8 hours a day on Zoom is not a great learning environment, right? We need to have some other interactions there, a blend of synchronous and asynchronous and other things involved. So that's when now we're going to start working with the Coast Guard post-pandemic in ways that we're able to you know, offer classes in a more interactive way. So next slide, please. So early on in the pandemic, I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Webb and Matthew Moore at the Designery studio, and they really immersed me into the VR, well, extended reality, let's just say, which includes VR and augmented reality. Really, truly emerging technologies that we want to adapt and are adapting into our Coast Guard training, so that we can do assessments, hopefully via distance. And this will allow us to reach out to more people. People will not necessarily have to come to ACTE to have their exams proctored, to do their assessments. We'll be able to do that with these emerging technologies. And we already have one project started, and that is our Reality Spectrum Maritime Distance Delivery and Outreach and Training Project. That's funded by the Denali Commission. We are 3D filming a whole tugboat ship assist scenario where the full startup of the tug, checking the oil, to driving the tugboat out, which is an azimuth drive tug, out to a ship to do a ship assist, and then more or less pulling a tote ship or another large vessel off of a dock or putting it on a dock in Anchorage, and then bringing the tugboat back to the dock and doing a full shutdown. The whole thing is going to be filmed in 3D. The tugboat's going to be modeled so that not only we'll be able to distribute this out to school districts around the state of a career awareness with, you know, a full 3D immersion, but then we'll be able to build training scenarios off of that, such as how to drive an azimuth tug with virtual reality, how to tie a ship up, how to check the oil, how to change the oil on the tugboat. All these different things we'll be able to distribute you know, headsets out to school districts, and students will be able to do these types of things, not only as a career awareness, but also as a training scenario. And our next step then will be getting this approved by the Coast Guard. And I think if we bring them a solution like this, where it's extremely realistic, these emerging technologies are becoming more and more user-friendly, that I think the Coast Guard will really grab onto this and we'll be able to have a solution, especially for rural Alaska, and getting young folks trained and mariners that are already in the industry trained, so that they don't necessarily have to travel to AVTEC to get their Coast Guard approved training. And with that, I'd like to hand this off to Dr. Webb and Matthew Moore from the designery team to talk a little bit more about these emerging technologies and extended reality and what they're doing at Designery, which is truly, I think I had such a great time at their studio. I got in the studio, I started experiencing extended reality, and then we got in front of the whiteboard, and it was like a mad scientist event where we just started writing down all these different things that we could do at AVTEC. So with that, the Designery team, please.
Okay, so strap in. We've got a lot to cover and not a lot of time to do it. So let's start with a little bit of Billy Shakespeare. What's past is prologue. You know, much of what we'll be talking about today is the near-term future, but by saying what is past is prologue, we are in essence saying that we've seen this play before. In fact, we saw it from 1896 to 1920, about 100 years ago. All right, this is 1896. The world is abuzz about internal combustion engines and their future, especially in automobiles. Ford fabricates his first quadricycle, his first prototype. Now, think forward, 1996, the earliest days of virtual reality. 1901 to 1913, Ford's education did not actually begin with the factory, it began on the racetrack. Now there is an engine. Take a look at that engine. The automobile is a bit sparse on creature comforts, but fast forward to today, think gamers, think online games. It's 1908, the Model T. This changes everything. Now, think forward, 2012, and the first Oculus Rift HMD, head-mounted display. From 1909 to 1920, the Model T transformed the world. A reliable automobile, relatively easy to operate and repair, steadily increasing in quality and decreasing in cost. Think 2012 to 2020 and the evolution of virtual reality, headsets, displays, and the various other fields that are growing up around it. But automobiles don't exist in a vacuum. They need roads, and the roads themselves will become a massive industry, from asphalt to overpasses, from signs to salt. How many businesses support roadways? Fast forward today, think of the virtual reality revolution and how it is changing just our understanding of so many things, including education. Automobiles need fuel. An even bigger industry grew up than roads. It's the very basis for our modern economy. Think oil and gas, think gas stations, tens of thousands of businesses being created. And what types of businesses will the reality revolution create? But not only new businesses are being created, existing businesses were finding ways to utilize automobiles. Here you see something as mundane as the delivery of vegetables. Automobiles transform it. How will the virtual revolution help transform and renew existing businesses? The automobile revolution also sparked massive innovation inside of the automotive factories themselves. You know, turn your car into a tractor. Why not? Again, fast forward. Today, the virtual reality revolution is exploding on 100 different fronts. It's combining with cloud computing. It's combining with the pandemic reality that we're living with. And the automobile revolution changed education as well. On the left, you see a classroom circa 1908. On the right, you see a classroom circa 1920. And by the way, here's an interesting thing I discovered. This is about CTE, Career and Technical Education. In 1917, the Smith-Hughes Act became the first law to authorize federal funding for vocational education schools. It was the beginning of CTE. These are direct quotes from histories of CTE. The next one there, the first mass acceptance of career and technical education came after World War I, and the move spread in the years to follow, and it paralleled the automotive revolution. Again, if past is prologue, then tomorrow begins today. Let's do a quick run through of some definitions. Virtual reality is the one that most people know. That's where you put the headset on, you're completely cut off from the outside world. A reality, it kind of looks like something, originally it was cartoonish, now it's getting more and more realistic, where you're interacting, and that's the key. You're able to interact, you're able to pick up things, you're able to talk to other people, you're able to play games together, you're able to do work together. Augmented reality is kind of an interesting one. It's almost like taking VR, you still have a headset, but you're able to see the real world, but you now add objects, holographic objects to it. But because you scan this thing in dimensionality, those objects are exactly the size they're supposed to be. They fit exactly in the reality where they're supposed to fit, and you can interact as if that was a real, that holographic element, object can be used as if it was real in this real world that you can otherwise see. Immersive reality. Immersive reality is a real interesting one. We started, we all know about GoPros and seeing people skiing down or skydiving or whatever, but the interesting thing is immersive experiences sort of merged with the virtual ones, and now we're able to actually use high definition 4K, 5K videos that are 360 degree. So again, they're immersive, and you're able to go inside of that. So think about teaching somebody with a video. We've been doing that for a long time. Now imagine they could actually go inside of the video, and they can be looking around. They can be experiencing what was happening in that world. Annotated reality, somewhat like augmented reality. This is where you add elements to that 360 video. For example, you can make a hotspot where when you click it, it plays another video. You can be playing a video inside of your 360 video. Click another hotspot and you can have an infographic pop up. Click another one and you can take a quiz. You can take the quiz right there. Lived reality. Now, as I was working with this, I've been at this for a while. I ran the Innovative Design Studio over at UAA for a number of years, and as we began exploring this, we realized that if you're going to do this and you're going to do it right, especially from an educational standpoint, what you have to do is you have to reference back to that lived reality. There's an interesting term that's being widely used now. It's called digital twin. It's used mainly for factories, but you take the factory and then you create a digital twin of it, an exact duplicate, but it's in the virtual world. Now you can do things like move equipment around. You can run test runs. You can add new workflows, and you can test it all out in the virtual world and know that you can then come back to the real world and it's going to work. Finally, that red highlighted term down at the bottom, all of these that I've just talked about, all of these realities are related. And so now we're beginning to see XR, extended reality, get referenced more and more. It's kind of like a catch-all term. When you talk about extended reality, you're talking about all of the ones I just mentioned. But here's the key, and here's the key for Designer, and it's also for AvTech, and that whiteboard session that we, when Terry came up, that we were so involved in. This is the automotive assembly line. how did you create the automobile and do it in a way, again, made it reliable, made it inexpensive, etc. Here is the reality spectrum. This is the modern equivalent of the automotive assembly line. Lived reality, that's the one, you know, the one we're all having so much trouble with now. Yes, captured reality. That's where we go out and we literally capture dimensionally, spatially, visually, the audio, all of those things that need to be captured to give us high fidelity to lived reality. Then we take those captured, that captured data and we turn it into models. Models of the environment, models of the objects that we use, models of the tools, of tugs, of azimuth controls. And then, and this is where it gets fun, and this is kind of the engine thing. You throw it into a game engine, just like the automotive engine. You throw it into the game engine, and that's when you can take it for a drive. Finally, there's informed reality. Informed reality may well ultimately be the most important aspect of this. This is where you can gather information. You can test people, you can record their entire educational experience of them going through it, and then they can look at it, the instructor can look at it, you can have a conference about it, and it gets even better. Then you take metadata, you put all of these student experiences together, you bulk them into metadata, and now you can take a look at your training. Is it that the students are having problems, that the learners are having problems, or do we need to improve the training itself? All right, I'm gonna do lived reality here. This is the gentleman in the middle is Terry Cook. He was a federal inspector for 30 years. He's probably one of the world expert on, not probably, he is one of the world's experts on tanker, hazmat tanker inspection. Here he is. Can you hear the sound? No, okay. All right, well anyway, he's talking. And we have this guy, that's a 360 video. You can see me holding the camera. And you're having a world-class expert teach these future inspectors or current inspectors. Okay, here's one where we're doing captured reality. This is done with a BLK 360 LiDAR scanner. Every one of those little dots that you see is a data point. Every time that scanner runs a rotation, it has 3.5 million points are captured. You can then convert it into photogrammetry. There you go. You can actually see the visual representation of the tanker in high fidelity photography. Here they are measuring. You see, we can measure it. The accuracy of this scan is 60 meters out. This scanner is accurate to 6 millimeters. You can have incredibly detailed dimensionality for. Now you see the environment that they're in. You can actually put them in this very environment. You can see my lovely bald head down there. Here's the thing though that I really like about this picture right here. This is their environment. This is where they train. Right now I'm scanning, I'm doing the scan. So that's the VR education. Then right in front of you, you have Terry Cook. He's doing a hands-on live inspection of that tanker. And then over on the right-hand side, you have the traditional classroom. And what we would do, this is a training we did this is an Army Reserve outfit. So all three elements of the education are going on: the classroom, the hands-on live, and then the online virtual. Here's another slide where we take that lived reality. You'll see lived reality over on the right, and now we're modeling it. So that's actually Matt, who you're going to meet here in a second. He went down to this. This is in Anchorage. It's an emulsification plant over on Viking. This is the Viking plant. And what we did is Matt did video and learned the workflow. But you can see over to the right there, we scanned it as well. We're creating accurate, dimensionally accurate, visually accurate, workflow accurate models. Here's a result of that. This is the played reality I talked about. This is where we put it in the headset. We put it in the virtual reality. You're going to see this is actually that same company, Emulsification Products, and they have asphalt tankers that come up from Nikiski where they offload, and they have to now offload up into the tankers at the C Street plant in Anchorage. This is, we've just kind of chopped this up a bit. This is a fairly long and involved process, but it's a training for someone learning how to safely and efficiently offload asphalt oil from the tanker and putting it into the above ground storage tank, and doing it safely. There's calculations are involved. Every step that they do, you see the hose was doing its kind of shimmy there. That's something that happens in real life. You can use this to teach someone the reality of this, and then at the same time then have them go out and do it in the lived reality. This is informed reality. It's a little bit of that annotated I talked about. This is an actual photograph of three-dimensional photograph of a truck and trailer, a tractor and a trailer, and we can throw things on like quizzes. We can, you see up in the upper left-hand corner, you see the various points where you might want to send your students to have them interact. They can go through the entire process here, and the data is being collected. They can then take a quiz. So what happens then is you put that headset on, and now all of this is available. The reason I put this in, this is the Oculus Quest 2. It's coming out in November, and I liken this to the Ford Model T, because we're now at a point where this technology is robust, it's hands-free, and we're able to kind of use it in almost any setting. All right, I'm going to turn this over to Matt here. Matt is going to show you what we're doing with AVTech. But the idea here is, how do we combine designery, the Alaska Maritime Training Center, and I put that Alaska flag there purposefully. We are an Alaska-born, Alaska-grown company. We are focused on Alaska, and we want to help grow the economic ecosystem, small business ecosystem that will be arising from the reality revolution that's headed our way. All right, Matt, you want to jump over here?
I can just do it from here if you want to drive from there.
Okay.
Good morning. Thanks, Richard. So like Terry and Richard had described, we had personally at Designery just gotten involved with them a couple of years ago, and Eric O'Brien introduced us to Jerry Blitz down there. We were pursuing an Alaska Energy Authority grant to produce a virtual reality training for power generation maintenance. So we had gone down there and we had worked with their power generation program, done a LiDAR scan there, and proceeded to model and place those assets inside a Connex. Unfortunately, AEA did not follow through with that project. So our next point of contact was being introduced to Terry Federer over at the Alaska Maritime Training Center. And we did get funding approved by the Denali Commission to proceed with developing a virtual reality / 360 video training with regards to a tug assist, ship assist on a tug, And so we're going to be accessing the Cook Inlet Tug and Barge's Stellar Wind vessel here soon. We did get delayed because of COVID factors. Unfortunately, a lot of our clients have been kind of affected and that they have to fight fires and reprioritize rather than innovating. And them being one of their essential workers here in Alaska, we were not allowed to get on that vessel, and we still haven't gotten that permission. So what we've done is we've gotten 2D drawings of the ship itself. We began to model it. We had actually made a demo prior to submitting to kind of illustrate this using readily available assets. And we put together a VR where a user can use the azimuth controls and navigate around on a vessel. It's pretty simple illustration of what we can do. What we do plan on doing with this vessel is, like Terry said, we're gonna capture the whole workflow with all the systems and processes. So from ship startup to departure to intercepting the vessel that it will be assisting, to docking that vessel, departing it, and then docking again and shutting down. So we're going to get that entire process captured with 360 video, and then we'll also LiDAR scan the vessel. So if we need to make any adjustments to the 2D drawing, the modeling that we'll be developing from the 2D drawings, then we can update that then. So this is a sneak peek at what we had been doing with the power gen school down there. And so this is their actual facility where they do the training. They have 4 different generators ranging in sizes. We decided we capture that one on the end. I think it's 150 John Deere, the green one that you're looking at. And that's a video, is it, Richard?
Yeah, but there's no sound, so.
Unfortunately, there's no sound, but yeah, we had taken all the noise
quite
from
loud,
the.
Yeah.
We had taken the noise from the environment and put that in the simulation. And in reality, when these people are working on those things, it's very likely that the lights are off. They don't have any power, so it's best to address these problems before you make it harder on yourself to do the work. But we tried to reproduce all of that in the actual virtual environment. And so
with the power generation one there, Matt, but obviously they're going to have diesels and power on the vessel itself. So, those two can integrate. Go ahead.
And so this isn't the Stellar Wind. This was a readily available model that we used for our demo to get support for this project. And here in a moment, we'll show you a video of that. The user doesn't have real hands. It's, pretty much slapped together really quick just to show what we could do. And this was a dock that we acquired where you can kind of modularly make a dock given regular models that would be at a dock or a port. So this is quickly illustrating that. I don't know if you can see up in the top right, you can see the tug itself from kind of a bird's eye view. This is all developed in Unity 3D. The environment, all those mountains around, that's just a 360 skybox. So we can get real skyboxes using drones or sometimes data from like Google Earth or Google Maps, sources like that. So this will be similar to what we'll be doing, except this will be with the actual Stellar Wind. You'll be intercepting a barge, a shipping container ship, a cruise ship, whatever it might be. And this one we have them intercepting a barge. But this is just a simple illustration of what we're going to be doing. So moving forward, we're waiting on Cook Inlet Tug and Barge to approve us access to their vessel. And then we'll have to capture all of that process. We'll begin modeling the assets, and then we'll go straight into developing. And so then how that training will supplement Alaska Maritime Training Center's curriculum is that at key points or critical points, we'll be implementing this. Like, so if a student or a trainee is, needs to focus on starting up the vessel or shutting down the vessel or navigating, intercepting with the vessel, those types of things, they would be full VR immersion. Other things like, if you need to learn how to tie a knot at the dock, or hoist in a rope from another ship, those types of things that aren't so hands-on could possibly be done with 360 video. So be kind of a multifaceted solution where, if it's a super essential task, we'd like the user to get into a VR environment to where they can be immersed in the setting and get a little more hands-on practice. And if it's not such a critical task, then we kind of put that into a 360 video where the user will be able to experience it without being there. And all of this can be done irrespective of distance. So the original title of the project, I think, was the Maritime Virtual Reality Outreach and Training. So part of this project will be to perform training, but also do outreach to communities that they don't have any ports, they don't have any harbors, they don't have any shipping, or their youth has no exposure or even a knowledge of any of that. So getting young people interested in these programs and getting them the appropriate training is all part of this project. And so, you want to go to the next slide?
All right. So, I mean, in essence, I love this quote. I forget where I learned it, but essentially the quote, as you see there, it's the future is coming so fast, and it really is, that we can't possibly predict it. What we can only learn to do is to respond quickly. And so we're in the midst of a revolution, but as I said, this is not our first rodeo. We've been through this before with the automotive revolution. We can learn a lot from that. It was, interestingly enough, exactly 100 years ago. And we'll open that up then to any Q&A or any questions.
I just wanted to add that, again, this is Terry, everybody, and thank Richard and Matthew for their excellent presentation. You can see that there are so many opportunities with this emerging technology that this could expand to other things, and we are looking at opportunities into doing this into some of our more engineering focused, looking at welding as well. The opportunities could be endless with this. So we're excited about this project, and and you can see just by watching the screenshot of the tugboat, you had the little pip up in the top right-hand corner. As somebody that when you're trying to assess somebody that they've really learned something, you have that full view of everything going on. You can really get almost a better assessment of what somebody's doing than you could in real life in some cases. So again, thank you, designer team, for an excellent presentation. And we are looking forward to working with you. With that,
We've got questions in the chat. I'm just going to pause for a moment in case you wanted to ask your question live, but I can start reading them off as well.
And again, Deb and Terry, thank you for having us.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, this is Mark. I was just asking if, how this can work, whether it's internet-based, or I think I got it answered in here, it can be on our LAN. And then the virtual reality is a combination of both. They will be able to actually maneuver everything in it, and then also watch the video of somebody doing it and then actually practice it.
That's correct.
Yeah. Yes. And one of the things, as I was saying before, we're very Alaska-centric. So we totally understand that there are going to be regions or situations where you're not going to have the connectivity. And so the way we've built this is so that it can move according to the circumstance, to the situation. We can, for example, the Quest headset that I showed you, you can side load that so that the training is self-contained. We can self-contain the training on a laptop, for example, and provide it that way, connected to the headset. But the whole idea is we want to be able to pivot to whatever the situation is. And so if it's high-speed internet, away we go. if it's no internet at all, we're not dead in the water. We've got that covered.
Yeah, to answer your first question, Mark, depending on how we design it, we can deploy a solution that would be connected to the internet all the time, where you would have a user token authentication portal. You would sign in with credentials, and all that would be fed to a database. And then that data can be queried from the database on another end, and then you can get a whole bunch of data from that, metadata, compliance certificates, et cetera, et cetera. Or we could build it so it could be just a standalone. You can ship a piece of hardware, and a user can open it up and use it. And then there's also somewhere in between where user can do all these things offline, and then it's recorded, and then the next time that they're they have connectivity again, then all that data can be sent to the database at that time.
Thank you.
I know we had earlier questions about kind of the workforce development, Richard, and I will keep looking at the questions in the chat, but I found that very intriguing. They actually have a 14-year-old student that's working on the designery team. Is that correct?
Well, he's a little bit older now, but yes. So something to say about workforce development, which I think is pertinent, and it's a reality that we faced. One of our biggest restraints as a company is finding trained individuals who can do what we do. Like, again, now each of these realities, the capturing reality, the modeling of it, the game engines aspect, the data aspect, each one of those is literally a separate job entity or a separate job swim lane that you can actually specialize in the capturing. You can specialize in anything from the LiDAR scanning to the high definition photography to drones, etc. Gives you an idea of that. And so one of the things that we're excited about partnering with AvTech about is we're looking forward to the day where training that's being done at AvTech will be a source for us to hire individuals, because we're growing as a company. And as I said, one of the biggest restraints is qualified workers. So workforce development is an absolute must for us.
Hi, this is Missy. I'm interested in that as you were talking and going through seeing the tug, and you started talking about Unity and the assets. We have programming and software development pathways here in Anchorage School District. We've probably got 90 to 100 kids in that pathway right now. And I'd be interested to see if there's some way to have them see what is happening right here. Because I don't even, I was so excited to see that you're an Alaska grown company and the opportunities for them right here in our own community.
Yeah, Missy, we're over at 4011 Arctic Boulevard. We have our studio, although we're perfectly happy to come to the schools, depending on what the latest COVID, but absolutely, we would love to, if you want to have field trips or individuals coming visiting. Actually, it's interesting you should mention Unity, because that's right now one of the areas where we really need help with Unity development. And one of our strategies has been to kind of, whether you call it internship or whether you call it kind of bring them on a lower level and then train individuals up so that let's just say come on and you're sort of a novice. We pay you maybe $15 an hour. Our highest Unity developers, I believe right now, are getting in the neighborhood of like $60 an hour. So it's Unity is definitely something that's in need, and it's a highly skilled set of skills. You know, it requires a high level of skill, and so send me an email, or I'll send you an email. Let's communicate. Absolutely.
Yes.
Love to
Thank
have
you.
you come over. You and any of, you know, whoever else you want to bring along from the school district. And then eventually, I'd love for the students to be passing through here as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Just to elaborate on that a little bit further, the unfortunate reality is a lot of these people with those marketable skills, such as Unity development and 3D modeling, a lot of them go on to work for game development companies because, you know, the new video games, they have huge budgets, and so they're able to pay a lot. But in my opinion, you know, doing the same work for, you know, a training program that's going to afford better training or more engaging training in various industries is a more meaningful pathway that a lot of people, quite honestly, just aren't aware of. Not many people know that there is potential to do game development essentially for business and industry.
I agree. I think it goes back to an awareness gap we have to know that, you know, because they are familiar with games. That might be their reality and how they got interested in the field, but to know that this is an emerging and opportunity right here is pretty amazing. Thank you.
I think there's plenty of opportunity to kind of shift a lot of those curriculums, because traditionally those development pathways and curriculums, they are kind of like, you know, develop a game or develop some sort of quirky thing that, you know, doesn't add a whole lot of value to anybody's industry, but you know, it's still a way to learn. I think there's plenty of opportunity to kind of incorporate, or, you know, put a carrot on a stick that you could actually do this for things other than games. You know, you can gain marketable skills and add value to your communities rather than just producing something that's fun to play.
And we would like to see, you know, the economic ecosystem grow. We have a lot of small businesses, and you know, we want to see. Right now, as far as I know, we're the only game in town, but I'd like to see that not be the case. I'd like to see this expand out, and as those businesses expand out, now there are more job opportunities for students coming online.
I'm going to take some liberty. This is Trish from ACTE to jump in here just because on this very subject. I had taught computer science for years, specifically the Cisco Networking Academy. So I certainly had a lot of the gamer types in front of me. And I think one of the, I love the stories you tell and the aspects of the industry that are beyond gaming also, because I think we have a captured audience in front of us, but I think we also, I had a student that went out to be a game developer and he came back and the best thing he told the class was, if you're a gamer, the last thing you want to be is a game developer because you'll never have time to game again. And so anyway, just kind of one of those values, like the iron worker saying, if you're not into full contact football, you don't want a job with us. So anyway, just for what it's worth, I thought I'd put that out there. It's a really intense job, whether it's, you know, he talked about the amount of sitting, just the ergonomics of it. He talked about the intensity of the math. And so it's fun to talk about that too, because if we just focus on gaming, I think sometimes we get the wrong candidates. So for what it's worth, I love the student input for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. And interestingly enough, one of the things I've found as I've gotten into this more and more, especially when you have the headset on, you're not sitting. It's like you're definitely up and moving around and interactive. And I personally, I think what we're going to be moving in the direction that more and more training will be done this way, and will be done, you know, closer to the lived reality, which is not that, as you say, sitting in a chair all day.
Well, I think we're coming up on our 9:55 mark, but I do just want to toss that out. Feel free. I did put all of our emails in the chat, and I'm sure they're available elsewhere. Don't hesitate to reach out to any member of the team, and feel free to use me as a point of contact to distribute information or send you off in another direction, anything, you know, related to this project, but also AvTech. I'm officially in the Maritime Department, but I've been with AvTech for a long time. So I can shoot you in the, I can get you in the right place and connect you with the right folks. And it's not a problem at all. So I appreciate everyone's time, and I'm gonna turn it over to our moderator.
Before you, just real quick, Deb, I want to publicly thank you, because Deb was actually, she sort of wrangled all the cats and got this all together. So this happened because of you, Deb.
Oh, my pleasure. And thank you, Kathy, for, and your whole team who's organized this conference and given us this venue.
Thank you all. That was a great team effort, awesome presentation and content. Thank you all for your time.